You did such a good job. I'll let you kick off the waiver ads. We're each going to give two guys that we're going to look at the waiver wire to end week 2 of the MLB season. So start with one. We'll keep going around the room like this. Who is one of your guys?
So I wrote about this earlier today, and I wrote about 3 guys. I wanted, I said you got to pick up ASAP. They're in less than 50% of ESPN leagues, but there's one guy I will just pound the table for, and that's Michael Kopech. He's only owned in, I believe, 32% of ESPN leagues right now, and the reason is because he's a long reliever currently. And no one wants to own a mid-reliever, long reliever. They don't get you the saves. They don't get you the wins. They can't get you the quality starts. Well, how long is Kopech going to be there? We don't know. And the thing is, as he's been a long reliever, he's looked dominant. He's one of these late blooming prospects, which I absolutely love because, he had a little injuries to deal with. It looks like he's past that. Kopech throws 99. He's got 2 great breaking balls, and no one can touch him. He's retired 19 of the 22 batters he's faced. I believe he struck out 12 of them in 6 1/3 innings. His stuff looks absolutely electric, and he's the next man up for the rotation for the White Sox. So if anyone has, COVID protocols they can't go or an injury, Kopech is in. He was actually going to start the start Rodon missed, but since he pitched a day earlier, they didn't want to throw him out there again. But the White Sox want Kopech to become, their ace, or I guess their A2 ace after Giolito. And he's got all the tools to become that guy. 32% of leagues is criminally underowned. And like I said, he's being used as a mid-reliever, so no one really cares about him right now. As soon as he's announced in the rotation, expect his ownership to double, even triple. I'd just go get ahead of the curve and grab him now.
I'm looking for him right now, trying to figure out how owned he is. So I'll get back to you on that. How owned he is on Yahoo exactly. Actually, I just found him. He's owned in my league. That sucked, but he's 47% owned. So even if you're on Yahoo,
half a week
there.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, one of your waiver ads. That's a great call, Michael Kopech, by the way.
Thank you.
I didn't say that. Nick, over to you. Who's one guy that you want to add in this week of the MLB season?
So one guy I'm looking to add this week is going to be Wade Miley. So Wade Miley is rostered in about 6 to 7% of leagues. That's a real low number. So he's currently sitting at a 2-0 record. He's won his first 2 games. He's got a 0 ERA. Guy hasn't given up a run yet. He's going to get 2 starts this week, which is huge. One against Cleveland. Obviously not the best matchup, going against the Indians. But then he's going to come up against the Giants. The Giants are one of only 4 teams in the league right now that are batting under 200, and they're strikeout machines. I think they strike out 26% of the time. That's a really high rate. So looking at Wade Miley, at least going into this week, I think you're going to get some really good numbers from him for this week and maybe beyond. He could be one of those guys that you kind of bounce around with, though, as well. So I think Wade Miley is a good pick this week for the waiver wire. He is owned in a very minimal amount of leagues. And, the numbers so far this year point up for him.
Well, that's a nice strategy, too. Pick up a guy before 2 starts. If he has 2 good starts, you can sell him high now.
There you go.
No, baseball, especially with pitchers, is all about asset management.
Absolutely.
It's such a long season. Your roster will never over under 40%. How many players that you draft are going to be on your team come the end of the year?
Right. I've always said the draft in fantasy baseball, I don't want to call it meaningless, but you don't win leagues on the draft. You win leagues on waiver wires, ads, and trades.
What happens in the draft? You don't lose leagues in the draft.
Exactly.
You have to hit on your first 10 picks. You have to hit on your keepers. And then everything else is just you're cycling in players for daily matchups.
There isn't quite a grind like the Major League Baseball fantasy grind. I really am firm believer.
It's tough.
The strategy that you can go with is amazing.
You can't win a league just coasting. If you had the best draft, it doesn't matter. If you're not checking diligently every day, looking at matchups, switching around lineups, as much as just benching one of your, bench hitters, putting a guy in who normally doesn't just because the pitching matchup's better.
Yeah.
That's how you win the leagues.
Yeah, true. And I would say too, picking up Wade Miley. If I could snag Wade Miley right now, he's probably not going to be on my team in a month. So
No.
that's the kind of movement that we're talking about that really could get you to that next level in the fantasy baseball league that you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Guy I'm going to go with, he's basically getting playing time due to injuries right now, but he's doing enough to earn sticking around. And when these injuries subside, he's going to have some major hitters coming back in. I'm talking about Zach McKinstry from the Dodgers, outfielder. He is like just someone who was drafted later than 1,000 in their draft. What are the odds of him being fantasy relevant, let alone just like coming into the league and doing what he's doing, batting 321, 355, and 379? Like that's unbelievable. And and with Mookie and Cody Bellinger out, like when they come back in, he's earned more playing time. He's earned the right to hit with them. His ceiling, it hasn't even been defined yet. Like he is made, especially if you get like in my league, you get an extra year of keeper eligibility for rookies. If you are in a league like that, McKinstry is someone that I really think you need to add.
Yeah. And it's like the Dodgers do this every year. They just get 3-4 guys every year that you've never heard of before. And then it's like, oh, this guy could play every day on any other team. But the Dodgers have 5-6 of them just rotating around all year.
Unbelievable.
It reminds me of Bill Belichick as an MLB GM. I'm not going to lie. All right.
Crazy.
We'll go reverse around the room. So me, Nick, and then Steve to end it here. And I'm going to go first just because my last waiver ad, I'll add in there. McKinstry 11% owned on Yahoo right now. I don't know about ESPN, but it's probably give or take 3%. So definitely get out there and add him. Next guy, only 9% owned. And it's not like he's done anything to deserve, you to rush to get him. But let's say you're someone who had Julian Merriweather. You have relievers that are going down with injury. You need to try to attach yourself to uncertain pitching situations where there's someone who's a sleeper that might come out on top. And in this specific case, I'm talking about Hansel Robles from the Twins. And it's not because he's a great reliever. It's because Alex Colomé is not. All right. This guy, like when it comes to relief pitchers, I chase opportunity. It's like touches for running backs in fantasy football. You touch just the opportunity. If you add him, who are you going to drop? Erickson, Profar, like you're going to drop someone that you're not going to miss. So if you need relief pitchers, he has respectable numbers throughout his career. He's not an all-star pitcher, but especially on the Twins, there will be save opportunities, there will be hold opportunities, and he has a lineup around him, like good enough defensively that are going to be able to help him out and get him where he needs to be to get you, those categories that you need for fantasy baseball. Nick, your last waiver ad for week 2 of the season.
So we're actually going to bring it back to my buy low from last week. The homer move of myself picking Steven Matz, who's one of my buddies who I played baseball with growing up.
He's been brought up a lot for only 2 shows.
He really has been. So hey, for good reason though. He's owned in about 50% of the leagues right now. Looking filthy. I mean, he's showing you what he can be, and his slider, he's throwing it a lot more, and that's in my opinion. And this was how it was growing up as well. His slider was always his table setter. I mean, that pitch was great. His fastball he's got a good fastball, mid 90s, probably like 94 to 96. But his slider is just phenomenal, and he's starting to get a little more confidence with it. The spin rate is back up on his slider, so he's getting a lot of swing and misses on his slider. And as that confidence builds, you're going to see Matsy's a gamer. I don't know if you guys remember from, I think it was 2016 when he broke out into the league. Yes. His first game, he went 3 for 3 and pitched a shutout. So, and pumping his fist, sliding into second base. That's the kind of guy he is. He kind of reminds you a little bit of Stroman. And it's funny because they used to pitch against each other, and they were on, the same travel league as well, which is a tough 1-2 to face those guys. Forget it. You're down 0-2 if you face them in a series. But, it kind of reminds you of that. He's got that fire coming off the mound. And the fact that he has some confidence right now, you're going to see that slider, that spin rate's going to stay up there. I predict he's going to still continue to get that swing and miss stuff, and you're going to see him continue to be a good pitcher this year.
No, I think that's a good – he was my sell high last week. And it's not because I don't think he's going to succeed. I just think there's a case for regression, but also there's a case for he might have finally found himself. Steven Matz might be the great enigma of fantasy baseball right now of what exactly to do with him. Steve, you've been great today. You've given us a great insight, a lot to think about. Give us one more nugget here before we get out of here.
So my last one's Jared Kelenic of the Seattle Mariners. Now, I don't know if he'll be available in Dynasty Keeper Leagues. He shouldn't be, but if he is, grab him immediately. But I'm talking redraft leagues. Kelenic's 48% ESPN owned right now, and I think it'll be sooner rather than later he'll get called up. He's the number 4 prospect in all of baseball. He can hit for power. He can run. He's good in the field. He's a 5-tool, potential superstar. And the Mariners, Taylor Trammell is their, an everyday outfielder who is struggling mightily. He has 20 strikeouts right now, and I believe just 32 at bats. It's something just awful. I mean, he's striking out almost every time he goes to the plate. He's batting like 100. Dylan Moore batting 104. He kind of broke out last year in the shortened season, but he just doesn't seem to have it right now. We talked about Ty France earlier. He's a guy who's been good so far, but if he falls down, there's no reason for the Mariners to not say, hey, we're getting Kyle Lewis, coming back from the IL. Now's the time to call up Kelenic, and we got ourselves a pretty good batting lineup going forward. And Kelenic, he slashed the ball great in spring. He showed no signs of them having to hold him down. It's just a matter of eligibility at this point.
Yeah,
and I think he should be up before the end of April. I really think he'll be up sooner rather than later. So why wait till you get that notification, that MLB notification? Mariners call up Jared Kelenic, and everyone rushes to their phone. Just stash him for a week or two. If you have the roster room, and like I said, if there's a couple guys in the roster that aren't doing that great, just get him out of your lineup for 2 weeks. Stash him. If he comes up, then there you go. You don't have to rush for him.
Especially like with all the injuries, all the people like Andrelton Simmons going on COVID lists right now. You're gonna have a lot of people going on the IL. That means that this is your opportunity to keep the guys you need to keep and bring in the guys that maybe wait and see. If by the time Merriweather gets off the IL, I need to drop someone. Sure, maybe I'll drop Kelenic if that's the case by middle of May. But it's a nothing to lose. I'm amazed. He's owned 59% on Yahoo.
That's too low. It's just way too low. He's a 5-tool, top 5 prospect, potential superstar. He could win Rookie of the Year as soon as he gets called up. That's the type of skills he has. He's shown he can hit at every level, and he should be up within 2 weeks. Why are we waiting 2 weeks? As soon as he gets called up, his ownership goes to 85% plus. So what are you waiting for? If you have the roster spot, just grab him.
And if he's available in a dynasty league, I mean,
he should be 100% in every dynasty league.
You should stop watching this video right now, and you should pick him up.
We won't be offended.